one of the most respected employees at the Pentagon, a model analyst, a woman known as the Queen of Cuba. Her colleagues admired her brilliance, and intelligence agencies trusted her with top-level secrets. But they had no idea that each night she became someone else entirely. What was hidden behind her polite smile and flawless reputation? Why did a simple phone call to her office spark panic at the highest levels of American intelligence? How are Washington's Chinese restaurants, a cheap laptop, and an attack that claimed the life of an American officer all connected? This is not fiction. It is the real story of loyalty, but not to the country she had sworn to serve. And if you think you've heard something like this before, wait until the very end. What happens there changes everything. Don't forget to like, leave a comment, and subscribe. You are not here by accident. Nuremberg, West Germany, 1957. Anna Belen Montes enters the world in an American military hospital, daughter of a Puerto Rican army physician whose iron fist rules the household with unpredictable fury. Behind the veneer of military respectability, darkness festers. Alberto Montes subjects his children to harsh punishment for minor infractions. Young Anna absorbs the family tensions, understanding the heated Spanish arguments, witnessing her father's volatile moods. When her mother finally separates from Alberto in 1972, 15-year-old Anna chooses her mother over her father. The decision reveals early signs of the moral certainty that will later drive her to treason. Academic excellence becomes her refuge. A 3.9 GPA at Lock Haven High School leads to the University of Virginia, where foreign affairs captures her attention. But it's her junior year abroad in Spain that plants the seeds of her future betrayal. Madrid, late 1970s. Anna befriends a woman named Mimi Colon, participating in anti-American street rallies. A documentary about the Chilean coup against Salvador Allende crystallizes her worldview. America interferes with other nations, preventing them from living freely. This ideological awakening builds gradually, nurtured by academic discussions, reinforced by like-minded friends. By the time she returns to the United States, Anna carries within her a profound conviction that her country's foreign policy represents a moral evil requiring opposition. For Anna Montes, this conviction will cost American lives and compromise national security for nearly 2 decades. Washington, D.C., 1979. Anna begins her government career as a clerk typist in the Department of Justice's Freedom of Information Act office. Her exceptional performance draws attention. Within 3 years, she rises from GS4 to GS9 pay grade, gaining top-secret security clearance with sensitive compartmented information access. Graduate studies at the School of Advanced International Studies provide intellectual justification for her growing radicalism. Academic discussions about American imperialism reinforce her conviction that her country's actions abroad represent systematic oppression requiring resistance. It's here that Cuban intelligence finds her. The recruitment approach demonstrates sophisticated understanding of her psychology. No crude financial offers or compromising situations. Instead, an appeal to her intellectual pride and moral convictions. A Cuban intelligence officer known as Chang doesn't ask her to betray her country. He asks her to help translate newspaper articles about Nicaragua. The request seems almost innocent. Reading English-language news reports, translating them into Spanish, providing analysis of American policy toward Central America. For someone convinced that American intervention represents moral evil, helping Cuba understand and counter such policies feels like righteous resistance rather than treason. "I'm in," she reportedly tells them. 2 words that will compromise American national security for the next 16 years. Spring break, 1983. Ana and her recruitment contact, Marta Velasquez, take what appears to be an innocent trip to Madrid. The vacation serves as cover for clandestine travel to Cuba via Prague, using false passports provided by Cuban intelligence operatives. Havana becomes her finishing school for espionage. 2 weeks of intensive training by the Cuban Directorate of Intelligence transforms an idealistic graduate student into a professional spy. She learns to receive encrypted shortwave radio messages, techniques for manipulating polygraph examinations, and how to maintain perfect operational security while living a double life. Her Cuban handlers assign her the codename Agent S, also known as Sergio. What matters is the identity it represents, a version of Ana Montes dedicated entirely to serving Cuban interests. The training reveals sophisticated understanding of American security culture. Her instructors know exactly what behaviors trigger suspicion, what patterns suggest espionage activity, and how to avoid the psychological tells that typically expose double agents. Most crucially, they instruct her to maintain the appearance of loyal service while systematically betraying everything she touches. For Ana, this becomes a way of life. The training concludes with instructions for her return to the United States. Retracing their steps through Prague and Madrid, using false documentation that leaves no trace of their Cuban detour, they complete the transformation. Ana Montes, the concerned graduate student, has become Agent Sergio, the Cuban intelligence asset. September 30th, 1985. Ana begins her career at the Defense Intelligence Agency, the primary producer of foreign military intelligence for the American government. Her initial assignment focuses on El Salvador and Nicaragua, exactly the regions where her Cuban training prepared her to provide maximum value. By 1992, she achieves the position that will define her espionage career: primary political and military analyst on Cuba. The Queen of Cuba nickname reflects both her unassailable expertise and somewhat imperial manner. Her performance reviews consistently praise her intelligence, productivity, and positive attitude. The irony becomes almost absurd. American intelligence services are paying someone to become their foremost expert on Cuba, while that same person systematically betrays every secret she encounters to the Cuban government. Her official job and her espionage activities reinforce each other perfectly. Her supervisor describes her as producing 2 to 3 times as much analysis as typical colleagues. This exceptional productivity serves dual purposes, establishing her reputation as a dedicated professional while providing extensive material to share with her Cuban contacts. The psychological burden of maintaining such elaborate deception would overwhelm most people. Ana manages it by convincing herself that her real loyalty serves a higher moral purpose. In her mind, she's not betraying America. She's protecting Cuba from American aggression. Her influence extends far beyond simple intelligence gathering. As the government's primary Cuba analyst, she helps shape American policy toward the island. Reports she writes reach the highest levels of government, including briefings for the Joint Chiefs of Staff and Secretary of Defense. Ana's greatest power lies not in the secrets she steals, but in the analysis she provides to her own government. As the Defense Intelligence Agency's primary Cuba expert, her assessments influence American policy at the highest levels, including a major report to Congress on Cuban threats to national security. Reports consistently downplay Cuban capabilities while emphasizing American provocations. She portrays Cuba as a defensive nation responding to American aggression rather than an active threat requiring serious attention. Her reports reach audiences including military departments, intelligence agencies, and congressional leadership. Each assessment potentially redirects American attention away from genuine Cuban activities while emphasizing aspects that serve Cuban strategic interests. The breadth of her access staggers investigators who later examine her activities. Special access programs worth billions of dollars, satellite reconnaissance capabilities, military planning documents. Virtually nothing remains beyond her reach as the government's trusted Cuba expert. Her Cuban handlers recognize this extraordinary value. Rather than demanding large quantities of documents that might trigger security reviews, they focus on specific high-value intelligence that Anna can provide through her legitimate access. The psychological satisfaction of wielding such influence sustains her through the isolation inherent in espionage work. She's not just gathering intelligence, she's actively protecting Cuba by manipulating American perceptions and responses. March 19, 1987, El Paraíso military base in El Salvador becomes the target of a devastating attack by Marxist guerrillas. Among the casualties, American Green Beret Gregory Fronius, a special forces soldier training local military units. As many as 69 Salvadoran troops also perish in the assault. The attack succeeds due to detailed intelligence about base security measures, guard rotations, and defensive positions. Information that Anna provided to her Cuban handlers after visiting the facility twice, most recently just weeks before the guerrilla assault. Her betrayal transforms from abstract policy manipulation into concrete consequences measured in human lives. This represents the darkest aspect of her espionage career. The secrets she steals don't just compromise American national security. They enable violence against American servicemen and allied forces. The blood of Gregory Fronius and dozens of Salvadoran soldiers stains her hands as surely as if she'd pulled the triggers herself. The psychological compartmentalization required to continue operating after such consequences reveals the depths of her ideological commitment. Someone motivated primarily by money or personal grievance might reconsider after witnessing such results. Anna continues her espionage activities without apparent hesitation or remorse. Her Cuban handlers understand the value of such intelligence. Military base layouts, security procedures, troop movements, and training schedules provide tactical advantages that can be shared with allied guerrilla groups throughout Central America. Anna's access to such information makes her extraordinarily valuable for supporting Cuban proxy operations. The El Paraíso attack demonstrates how intelligence betrayal connects to real-world violence. Abstract policy documents and strategic assessments might seem harmless, but in the hands of hostile intelligence services, they become weapons that enable attacks on American personnel and interests worldwide. Yet Anna continues her double life without visible signs of psychological stress from these consequences. Her performance reviews remain positive, her productivity stays high, and her colleagues notice no changes in behavior or attitude. The compartmentalization that enables long-term espionage also insulates her from emotional impact of her actions. Anna's espionage tradecraft represents a masterclass in operational security. Her daily routine appears completely normal to any observer. Morning review of classified documents, afternoon briefings with colleagues, evening reports written from memory using encryption software provided by her Cuban handlers. The delivery methods blend seamlessly into Washington's social life. Chinese restaurants throughout the city provide venues for passing encrypted discs to Cuban intelligence officers posing as diplomats or businessmen. Conversations over General Tso's chicken mask, the transfer of America's most sensitive secrets. Her communications security proves equally sophisticated. A dedicated pager number traced later to the Cuban mission at the United Nations provides secure contact. High-frequency radio messages encrypted with unbreakable ciphers allow her handlers to provide instructions without detectable communication. The financial aspects reflect ideological rather than mercenary motivation. Anna receives minimal compensation from her Cuban contacts. A few $1,000s to pay off student loans, purchase a modest car, and buy a second-hand laptop. Her lifestyle shows no signs of unexplained wealth that might trigger financial investigations. This restraint serves operational security while demonstrating her genuine commitment to the Cuban cause. The modest financial footprint helps maintain her cover for over a decade. The investigation that finally exposes Anna begins with broader concerns about Cuban intelligence penetration of American government agencies. Years of mysteriously blown operations and leaked information suggest a high-level mole within the intelligence community. The breakthrough comes from an unexpected source: the arrest of the WASP network, a Cuban spy ring operating in Miami. FBI analysis of seized documents and intercepted communications reveals references to an agent called Sergio operating in the Washington area with extraordinary access to classified information. NSA analyst Alina Valdez pieces together crucial clues. Radio transmissions traced to the Washington region, references to a Toshiba laptop purchased in Alexandria, Virginia for exactly $2,000, and mention of a visit to Guantanamo Bay during July 1996. These details allow investigators to narrow their search to Defense Intelligence Agency personnel with Cuban expertise. When cross-referenced with travel records, one name emerges: Ana Montes. The FBI launches intensive surveillance in October 2000. Physical observation, electronic monitoring, and financial investigation gradually build an overwhelming case against the woman her colleagues still trust completely. The evidence accumulates methodically. Prepaid calling cards found in her office wallet match numbers used for suspicious calls to New York pagers. Encrypted files recovered from her laptop contain communications with her Cuban handlers. The investigation takes on desperate urgency when officials learn of Anna's pending transfer to the National Intelligence Council at CIA headquarters. Most alarmingly, she's scheduled within 24 hours to receive detailed war plans for the American invasion of Afghanistan following the September 11th attacks. September 21st, 2001, Anna arrives at Defense Intelligence Agency headquarters for what she believes will be another routine day. Instead, a phone call summons her to the Inspector General's office for what seems like a minor administrative issue. The conference room contains FBI special agents rather than administrative officials. Anna immediately understands that her 16 years of espionage have finally been exposed. The interrogation proves brief and unsatisfying for investigators hoping for dramatic confessions. When asked directly if she's under investigation, Anna confirms her understanding, then requests legal representation. The conversation ends after just 4 minutes with her arrest for conspiracy to commit espionage. Her composure during arrest reveals the psychological preparation that sustained her through years of deception. No emotional breakdown, no pleas for understanding, no attempts to justify her actions. The arrest sends shockwaves through the intelligence community. Colleagues who trusted her expertise must grapple with the reality that their most trusted Cuba expert systematically betrayed everything she touched. Facing potential execution or life imprisonment, Ana enters plea negotiations that will determine her final fate. The sensitivity of compromised operations makes public trial impossible. Too many classified programs would require exposure to prove the full scope of her betrayal. Her defense attorney negotiates a plea agreement that avoids the death penalty in exchange for a 25-year sentence and complete cooperation with damage assessment efforts. The debriefing process lasts 7 months as investigators attempt to understand the full scope of her espionage activities. Ana provides detailed information about her Cuban handlers, describes her training and operational methods, and explains how she accessed and transmitted classified information. Yet she maintains convenient memory lapses about specific documents and continues to justify her actions as morally necessary. Her sentencing hearing reveals the psychological framework that sustained her espionage career. She expresses no remorse for her betrayal, instead describing her actions as following conscience rather than law. In her mind, she protected Cuba from American aggression rather than betraying her own country's legitimate interests. The judge rejects her moral justifications while imposing the agreed sentence. Ana's placement in the Supermax facility at Carswell Federal Medical Center reflects the continued threat she might pose even in prison. After serving 21 years and 3 months, Ana gains release to supervised probation in Puerto Rico. Her family disavows her actions while she maintains the righteousness of her cause. Even in freedom, she represents an ongoing challenge to understanding how ideology transforms patriotic service into systematic betrayal. The case of Ana Belén Montes demonstrates that the most dangerous spies are often those who believe most deeply in their causes. When conviction becomes betrayal, when ideology justifies treason, the resulting damage can echo through decades of compromised national security.